everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. And today we're going to head back to the late 80s for a creature feature. But before we get into this one, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe. I greatly would appreciate that. Also, as always, a shameless plug for my TeePublic server, link for that in the description box below. And today we're going back to 1989 for Pumpkinhead. Pumpkinhead dropped January 13th of 1989, although it was supposed to come out October of the previous year, although it did have a very limited release. We're going to get into that. This movie kind of got screwed over upon release, but there was a reason why that happened. It's rated R. It's an hour and 26 minutes long. Had a budget of $3 million, and upon release, it only made 4.3. But again, it didn't get a great release, so we'll talk about that. This was Stan Winston's directorial debut. They approached him with the material. Dino De Laurentiis' company approached Stan Winston. He liked the material. Made a few changes, but he signed on and did it, and he brought his whole FX crew on, which is only natural. One of the best FX crews in the world, and they designed Pumpkinhead and all the makeup effects for this film. In this film, we got Lance Henriksen, somebody who's already worked with Stan Winston before, playing Ed Harley. We got Jeff East, yes, young Superman from Dick Donner's original, playing Chris, one of our youths that had come to rent a cabin up in this mountainous area. George Buck Flower, a John Carpenter regular, plays Mr. Wallace. He lives with his family, his kin up in the mountains as well. And Brian Bremer plays Bunt, as Mr. Wallace's grandson. And he was also in Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toy Maker. And he's still acting to this day. Pretty much what Pumpkinhead is a revenge story. We got these youths, these early 20-somethings going up to the mountains to rent a cabin. It's like kind of like Appalachia. A lot of like mountain folk. They live with their whole family. They have farmland. They keep to themselves. Ed Harley runs a little fruit stand or a little hardware store off the side of the road. These youths stop to grab some stuff for the cabin. Ed Harley is raising his young son. He's a widower. His wife had passed away. Ed Harley has to run back to the house to grab some grain for Mr. Wallace that he'd forgotten. And while he's gone, two of the youths, two brothers, the one's a dick, one's kind of a nice guy, start riding their motorcycles around, and the young boy runs out for his dog. And unfortunately, the dick guy on the motorcycle hits the kid. The kid's dying, and Ed Harley wants his revenge over these youths. So he finds out where this witch is in the mountains, and he asks her to resurrect the demon Pumpkinhead to take revenge for him and his young son. He has to go out in the woods in this pumpkin patch, dig up Pumpkinhead. The witch does what he wants, but there's a catch to this. As we see throughout the film, Pumpkinhead starts killing our youths one by one, and finally Ed Harley discovers how to stop Pumpkinhead. Pumpkinhead is defeated, and at the end of the film we see the witch burying Pumpkinhead back into the ground, and that's the end of the film. So what to like about this film? Before we get to the obvious thing, I think the cast is pretty good here. Lance Henriksen is always great whenever he shows up in a movie, and he's great here, and he leads this movie. He is the star of the movie, and he's more than capable of doing so. He's fantastic here playing this widowed father trying to raise his young son, and then these kids from out of the area, the city folk, come up and something bad happens to his kid. Although it was definitely an accident, he's pissed and he wants revenge, and he does take revenge. I think that the youths are pretty good too. I think they do what they need to do. I mean, they're the reason why Pumpkinhead's getting resurrected, at least one of the kids. Unfortunately, the rest of them have to suffer for that one kid's, although it was an accident, he isn't very remorseful at first. Eventually he looks more remorseful about it. But at first he's kind of very just standoffish and doesn't want to take responsibility for what happened. So I think all that being said, the star of this movie is the makeup effects. Between the witch herself, who looks amazing, and her costume weighed 65 pounds. That actress had to wear 65 pounds worth of stuff to pull that off. Makeup's flawless. She looks amazing, especially in the light in this movie. And then obviously our title character, Pumpkinhead, looks amazing and one of the greatest creature designs ever put on film. I think it's up there with Predator, Aliens, Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's a great design. And Stan Winston kept it all in house. His guys performed all that, and it looks great on screen. And I think the lighting, the cinematography looks gorgeous in this film, especially on this 4K from Screen Factory. But the lighting is fantastic, very moody. Definitely brings out what we're going for here. Suspenseful lighting. It has this very eerie, beautiful tone to it, and it does. For his first film, Stan Winston knocked us out of the park. Although by this point he'd worked with some of the best directors in the business, with James Cameron, John McTiernan, and whatnot. So I think this movie looks gorgeous. And then we get the horror aspect of it. This creature hunting down these young kids. And again, the creature looks flawless. It looks great. Now you could see, you know, this might be a little nitpick, but even back then, you could tell there was limitations with the creature. That's why it's shot at a certain angle. That's why it only moves in certain directions. But I think they shoot it and edit it properly where it comes off really well on screen. There is some blood thrown around. I wouldn't say this movie's overly gory, but they definitely don't shy away from the blood. We definitely see that. And some gore for sure. I think why this movie works is it's a simple story. They don't try to do too much with it. In terms of, it could have been expanded upon. They could have tried to go crazy with it. They stay within the pocket of the movie. I think it's why I like it so much. They keep things simple, even though we introduce like this witch and then witchcraft and this demon. I think they do it in a way where they keep it contained enough where they're not trying to do too much, and they stay within the pocket of the story, and it works out really, really well. And at the end of the day, I've always liked this movie since I saw it on VHS way back in the early 90s, and it still holds up incredibly well to this day, especially on this 4K from Screen Factory. So I'll give you my rating in a moment. Now, the dog that's in this movie is the same dog from Gremlins. So, yeah, if you think the dog looks familiar, this was the dog that was Billy's dog in Gremlins as well. The cabin that the kids rent that they go to is the Jarvis cabin from Friday the 13th Part 4. This was all shot in California. So, yes, the Friday the 13th Part 4 cabin makes an appearance in this film. It's the cabin that the kids go to that they're renting. The origin of this story is actually based on a poem by Ed Justin from the 70s. And the writers took inspiration from that and then wrote a story around that. And the script had been around for a while. It took a while to get this one made, but they finally did get it made. Now, the distribution, we talked about that, how it got messed up. This was supposed to come out in October of the previous year, 1980. This was all shot in 87. It was supposed to come out in October in 88. And while it did get a small limited release in October, Dino De Laurentiis' company went bankrupt around this time. So they did not have the money to put this out in a full release. So the movie was in kind of purgatory. United Artists stepped in, picked up the movie, and put it out in January, which back then was the death knell for most movies. That was where movies went to die in January and February. And this movie sadly died. It didn't get a great release. From what I read, the advertising for it wasn't the greatest, and the movie only made $4.3 million, sadly. Now, obviously, over the years through rental, the VHS video rental market, and physical media, this has grown quite a cult following over the years. And they did make sequels. Jeff Burr did Pumpkinhead 2, Blood Wings, which I've seen, which is not as good as this one. And then they made two other sequels that I'd never seen that went direct to video, if I'm not mistaken. But the one that's always looked fondly upon is the OG. And I think Stan Winston, for his first time out directing, does a great job. We get a great monster here. And it's basically a revenge story at the end of the day. And I love how we see Ed Harley regret that decision after he sees what's going on. And I love how we see him starting to turn into Pumpkinhead by the end of the film. And he realizes he has to self-terminate to stop the madness. And that's what he does. And when the witch buries Pumpkinhead at the end, it's Ed Harley's body looking like Pumpkinhead that she buries in that pumpkin patch. So I love all that, those little nuances that are peppered in there. But at the end of the day, I really like this movie. I always have. It's a great creature feature from the 80s, and they did it on a relatively small budget of $3 million, and everything was done in camera. So it's very impressive what they were able to pull off for such a small budget, even back in the late 80s. I would give Pumpkinhead a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 for Pumpkinhead. What are your thoughts on this one? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. That's it for this one, but until next time, bye.